First and foremost, a lot of apologies for coming up with a video after a very long time. The obvious reason is that we are very busy with work, sites have started and there's a lot of catching up to do, so time is very limited, even Sundays are working. That being said, let's look at what we have covered in obesity so far. In part 1, I spoke about the complications of obesity and how it brings in several chronic diseases that only come in and don't go out. In part 1, we also looked at why men shape in the form of an apple and women in the form of a pear. We looked at the global statistics of obesity and we looked at the methods of measuring it, mainly the BMI or the waist to hip ratio. Then in part 2, we looked at the energy in, energy out or the energy balance theory and how it doesn't really follow the scientific method. We briefly looked at the scientific method. Let me recap it for you. What is the scientific method? Scientific method is something that all sciences must follow. How it works is you observe a problem, formulate a theory or a hypothesis, then frame tests to conduct experiments and prove your hypothesis, carry out the experimentation. If the data of the results proves your hypothesis, you repeat it again just to be doubly sure. If the data doesn't prove your hypothesis, you go back to the hypothesis and see if that needs some reframing. And it is essential to add that any definition or any theory must be always true. So we have seen in a number of instances, all of you I'm sure know people who can eat as much as they want and remain very lean and lanky. On the other hand, there are people who will put on weight at the drop of a hat. The energy in, energy out theory just cannot explain away such cases. In part 3, we looked at the lipid or specifically the diet heart hypothesis, which says that fats in food cause fats in circulation and that gives you or that gives rise to heart disease. And as a result of this theory coming into acceptance, people drastically change their diets away from fats towards carbohydrates and how that has coincided with the rise of obesity in the global population. So I had promised that I will give you an alternate theory which is actually a work in progress. As of now, people are doing a lot of work in this area. It has not yet been formally announced as a hypothesis, but is in the works. To give you an explanation of this theory, first let us see how people or why people get fat, how this works. So basically, fats can come either from food or from your own body. I have mentioned that science has proven that dietary fats only contribute to about 15 to 20% of circulating fats in the blood. So that means 80 to 85% of the fats come from your own body. Where do these fats come from? They come from your bile juices, which help in digestion of your food, and once that process is over, the breakup of the bile juices leaves behind fats which are then repackaged as fatty acids and circulated within the lipoproteins in the blood. Dietary fat and fats stored in the body are mostly in the form of triglycerides. Triglyceride is a glycerol with 3 fatty acids attached to it. In terms of size, this is a triglyceride is very large to go through the barrier between the capillary bed and the bloodstream, and therefore these get circulated in the lymph and distributed to cells via the lymph. After being broken down, when they are in the form of singular fatty acids, they get connected to the bloodstream via the thoracic duct somewhere in your shoulder area below the neck on the rear side. Similarly, the bile juice fats are broken down and processed as fatty acids and circulated within the blood by the liver. When fats are delivered to the fatty cells, the fatty cell entry and exit is wide enough to allow singular fatty acids to go in or exit. Whereas again, like in the case of digestion and fats contained in food, the triglycerides are too large to enter into the adipose cell, adipose tissue directly, so they need to be broken down into single fatty acids, enter into the fat cell, and then again be reformed as triglyceride for storage. Once it is made into a triglyceride, it cannot exit from the fat cell unless and until it is broken down back into the component fatty acids. So this fatty acid triglyceride cycle is something which is constantly going on within the body. But when you eat carbohydrates, naturally carbohydrates break down only into glucose, and therefore your glucose concentrations go up, and proportionately the pancreas is asked to release insulin to get attached to this glucose and circulate it throughout the body for delivery to the cells, where they can be taken up and consumed as energy, or ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is our form of energy. However, due to excessive consumption of carbohydrate and excessive amount of glucose in the blood, the cells of the body become insulin resistant, and the cells refuse to accept any more insulin with the circulating glucose. Consequently, the insulin is forced to convert this glucose into fatty acids and then enter inside the fat cells to deposit these fatty acids. Once inside the fat cell, 3 fatty acids get attached to glycerol, and then they are stored there as triglycerides. But when insulin is involved in the conversion of glucose into fatty acids, there is a byproduct known as activated glycerol or alpha glycerol phosphate. In the presence of activated glycerol, the breakdown of triglyceride back into the fatty acids is stopped, and therefore this activated glycerol interrupts or interferes in the fatty acid triglyceride cycles. More and more triglycerides get accumulated within the fat cells expand, and so do we. Why does this happen? The body has been storing fat for thousands of years, from the days when we were hunter-gatherers, because it knew that food availability was not certain and was not guaranteed. A hunter-gatherer tribe or a group or a family would be successful in a hunt only once every few attempts. So maybe a hunt was successful once a week, once in 10 days. Then again, that was rationed to be consumed in the next 3 or 4 or 5 days. And then there were periods, regular periods of hunger or starvation. So from those days, the body has learnt to keep some energy aside in the form of fat to be used in times of scarcity or starvation. In those days, back in the good old days, you would put on weight after being fed very well after a hunt, and the weight on and off process was active all the time. The fatty acids were being converted into triglyceride, and triglyceride back into fatty acids when required. And you put on weight for a few days, and then when you went hungry, you lost all the weight. Again, when you had a good meal after a hunt, you put on some weight, again lost it. On an average, you always maintained a very stable and ideal body weight. But today, food scarcity is no longer a fact, and you can just go and buy whatever you like from the store or online or on your phone, and food is delivered, available to you on demand all the time. Since the period of scarcity or starvation no longer exists, you just keep on accumulating and storing fat more and more and more. And the more amount of carbohydrate you consume and you become insulin resistant, the carbohydrates are converted into fatty acids, go into the fat cells, get stored. Activated glycerol will not allow the fat storage to be broken up back into the fatty acids, because your body doesn't need the fatty acids because your consumption is constantly on. So this is how fat accumulation, fat storage works, and this is how people become overweight or obese. So the theory that I wanted to talk to you about is known as the theory of lipophilia. Philia means in love of, versus phobia, which means in fear of. So lipophilia literally translated means in love of fat. So the theory basically suggests that there is something within our DNA, within our genetic makeup, which makes a bulk of the population, majority of people, lipophilic or in love with fat, in love with storage of fat, as compared to a very small, minute minority which is lipophobic. So lipophobic people have in some way a disruption of the fatty acid triglyceride cycle, and therefore they are not able to store their food or their digested nutrients in the form of fats, triglycerides in the fatty tissue, whereas lipophilic people do it at the drop of a hat. I hope that my talk and the slides that have been put up are clear enough and you could understand how people become fat. Obviously, the answers to how to avoid becoming fat also lie within. My suggestion, keep your carbohydrate consumption limited to about 15% of your diet, and almost all of that should come from vegetables and some fruits. Fruits, if you are not diabetic, if you are diabetic, fruits also pose a problem because of the fructose, and depend very less on processed carbohydrates, fast acting carbohydrates, sugary stuff, juices and sodas, or what we call cold drinks. Hopefully this has been a value addition to your knowledge base. You have enjoyed it as we have, and this will encourage you to subscribe to our channel and wait for new videos to come. Thank you so much.